It reminds me of people who say, I don't see color, which is bullshit. You do see color, you have eyes. Hi, I'm Ariel. You're watching She Wants the Diction, and this is part 4 of my Blackathon reads because I cannot be stopped. I'm not gonna lie, this week's reading was pretty pathetic, but I will explain why. Okay, the first thing I read was The Color of Water, A Black Man's Tribute to His White Mother by James McBride. This is essentially exactly what it sounds like. Shifting perspectives between interviews with his Jewish mother, and then it alternates with chapters about his reminiscences about his childhood. He was growing up as a black kid, and it was at a time when interracial relationships were seen as a taboo. It wasn't really a thing that happened. So his dad was black, but wasn't around, and then his mom was white, specifically Jewish. Growing up, he did not really understand why his mom was white, and she never really explained it to him. In fact, she didn't even explain to him that she grew up Orthodox Jewish and then eventually abandoned that belief because she got married to a black Christian man. And I'm sorry, but that was kind of a hot mess. Okay, so like he's black and he's looking at his mom like, why doesn't she look like the other moms? And they're living in this black community and everyone's black, and he's like, well, what the heck? Like, you know, like all she had to do was just tell him, okay, hey, look, I'm Jewish and your dad was black and I'm white, and that's all she had to do. And I don't understand why, instead of just telling him or trying to explain to him, she just said, oh, well, Jesus is the color of water, and the color of water being that it's clear, and they're kind of, it can be any color, it is also no color. It just rubs me the wrong way. It reminds me of people who say, I don't see color, which is bullshit. You do see color, you have eyes. Color should not change the way that you treat someone, but it's still important to acknowledge where you come from and the differences. And this is the same problem I have with white people that adopt black children or African babies, and then they don't know how to take care of their hair. They don't prepare them for the racism that they will probably face. Like, they just act like race isn't a thing. White people who like think they're being progressive or like helping, but it kind of backfires, and you can see exactly why in this book that it like backfired on him because he grew up like not understanding who he was. I don't know. She could have saved him like so much grief, and it honestly just like makes me mad that she didn't just like say anything at all to him about it other than this confusing shit. I really didn't like that. Now, I'm not saying his mom didn't go through a lot, because she definitely did. Like, she was abused by her dad, like sexually. Ended up having to go through an abortion because she got pregnant by a black man, and then had a lot of children that she had to care for. And yes, it's amazing that she was able to raise all these children in her own way and come through all the like hardships that she did from both, white people that were disapproving and black people that were kind of like, what's she doing here? Like, it's amazing that she got through that, but the way that she did things, that doesn't necessarily mean that the way that she did things was right. And as a proof that she raised them all the best she could and she did a good job, at the end he lists all of his siblings and then all of their accomplishments. So they all graduated college, they all became professionals and were really successful in their field or whatever, which, I mean, yeah, you might be successful, but you obviously had this trauma. You wrote this whole book trying to figure out what was the deal with your own damn mom. Just because you were successful by society standards doesn't mean that this was the right way to raise you. Like, were you happy? Were you know what I'm saying? Like, and I was just reading, what did I just start reading? I just cracked this, which is Blackfire, an anthology of Afro-American writing, edited by LeRoi Jones and Larry Neal. So I just cracked this, and one of the first fucking essay in here is called The Development of the Black Revolutionary Artist. And it talks about how we need to create, instead of using these white models for success, we need to create different models or like standards for black people to abide to. And I'm sorry, but like the whole college thing like is as white of an institution as you can get. Like, that is a white standard for success, is graduating, having all these degrees, being a professional. Like, I'm not saying it's bad that he did that. I'm just saying you're measuring your whole life by these like white standards. Just a little bit on this real quick. It's basically like the anthology about the black arts movement, which was basically kind of like the Harlem Renaissance, except black authors were self-publishing, or they were publishing other black authors, so it was kind of like black-led, whereas Harlem Renaissance, the famous writers that you hear about, like Langston Hughes and Maya Angelou and whoever, were all still having to cater to white publishers. So this goes a lot harder than some of the things that I've read from the Harlem Renaissance just so far in what I've read. I don't know. This whole concept of this book kind of just bothered me. Like, it was good to see his experience and how, like, fucked up that it can be to just not simply explain to your children any sort of race dynamics or anything, just like ignore the problem. Like, I don't know why you just ignore the problem like that. Like, it's fucked up. I'll probably get rid of this book, like, honestly, not feeling it. The other thing that I read was Selected Poems by Rita, and she was the poet laureate in 1993, which was the year I was born. So the first black poet laureate. She also won a Pulitzer Prize. And the reason I haven't gotten hardly any reading done during this week is because this poetry is like basically giving me a goddamn history lesson on every single poem, because without fail there will be a name or a reference or something that I don't get, and I have to look it up and then read about it and understand the reference before I can read the poem and actually make hide or tail of what the poem is talking about or trying to say. And I'm only like halfway through. There is a section where she writes poems about influential figures in Black history. There was a maker of Black almanacs that she talks about. There was the man who wrote 12 Years a Slave, which is another kind of Frederick Douglass type narrative. And I just come away with the feeling like, you're really smart and educated, and I can't follow this. Like, I can't completely follow this. This is not like for the average person to just like pick up and understand. So I'm really struggling with it. I'm not really enjoying it. Again, like, poetry is not really my jam. It's so concentrated. Like, you have to sit there and concentrate, and you have to read it multiple times, and it's just, I'm realizing I don't enjoy reading this type of poetry. Like, not that there's no value in it, I'm just not personally enjoying it. I was just thinking about unconventional forms of Black literature or Black writing, and one of the things that I've read for a while now is this online literary magazine, which is specifically by women and people of color and, you know, people that don't fit the gender binary. It's called gal-dem, and I will link it. Now, I'm pretty sure it's British or European or something like that, so it kind of has a lean towards those current events, but I don't know. I feel like their articles are really good. Their music recommendations are always fire. That is one really good source. The other thing that I wanted to mention was magazine. It's called Crown. They have an Instagram and everything. This is their second issue. But anyways, it's just completely, I'll try to show it. Yeah, the photography in here is just fire. Shit's on point. It's like some high quality ass shit. But it's just a whole magazine specifically written by Black women. So all the hair articles in here, there's not going to be nothing talking about a fucking straightener, you know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, like, if you pick up any fucking beauty magazine as a person of color, it can be frustrating, because I remember from back when I used to read Nylon that, like, I mean, I like the fashion in there and everything, but all of the beauty stuff, I would just be like, this would never work for me. You know, like, it's really weird to read a hair article that actually has something in it that you could actually use, or is about products that would actually work in your hair. It's just an extremely, like, different experience, and I think it's worth it to support people that are trying to do or put this kind of thing out into the world. And if you've never read a magazine that's specifically for you, then I think it could be a good experience. I think that's it for this week.